The current president of the Peoria Park District just announced today that he is running for another term. After 8 years serving on the Peoria Park District Board as president and over 30 years as a trustee, Robert Johnson said that he wants to continue to make the Park District what he feels is one of the best in the nation. An avid recreational user of the parks himself, Johnson said that his focuses on his re-election campaign include safety and quality. He thinks the Park District is already a great resource to the city of Peoria, but some areas can still improve.
Make sure that each and every one of our citizens, all walks of life, all creeds of people will have the safety and enjoyment of this beautiful park district that is a very good amenity to our city. We make Peoria a great place to live for everyone to come and to live here and also to work here.
Johnson said he is passionate about continuing to serve if elected. He said his goals also include expansion of services and facilities to various areas, including Peoria Heights and West Peoria.